Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 723, I think. It's one of those mornings with my computer. One of those computer mornings. And my computer actually fired up okay this morning. But for some reason, my Google Chrome is like wants two-step authentication on all my sign-ins. So, which annoys the piss out of me. Annoys the flipping. I keep like the same password for everything. IT people are like, "Oh, no, don't." Because I apply the KISS principle to everything. Keep it simple. So my computer fired up fine. I get to YouTube, open up Google Chrome, get to youtube.com. All of a sudden, poof, the lights go out. Not literally, but the Google Chrome, poof, it's gone. Son of a bitch. So I open Google Chrome again. I was signed into everything just fine. And poof, it goes. I double click the icon. I get back into Google Chrome. Guess what? It signed me out of everything, and I have to go 2-step authentication on every GD program on the internet, which pisses me off. YouTube's okay. YouTube's super easy. And there's got to be a setting that my computer made me do because my other computer doesn't do this. YouTube's easy. You just log into your iPhone. So I have my phone right here. Boom, click. Is this you? Yes. Okay, you're in. Poof, automatic. But with Twitter, which the only reason it bothers me with Twitter is because I share the link to the stream to Twitter. Otherwise, I have to go in, I have to copy the link on the YouTube, and it takes an extra 45 seconds, okay? We don't have time for that when I'm running 13 minutes late as it is. So I have to log in. It's like, okay, here's my account. Okay, what password do I actually use 3 passwords for everything. Okay, which of the 3 is it? Boom, got it. Oh, now we have to send you a code. For a while, there was about a week where Twitter was not sending me the code for like an hour. It's like I need Twitter now, not this afternoon. So fortunately this morning it was okay. So that's why I was a little later than normal. I also kind of just lounged in bed for a little while this morning. I've been up and at 'em super early the last few days, and I didn't sleep in per se, but I slept in a little bit. I didn't sleep in. I just decided not to physically get out of bed for a later time. Let's get into the chat. We've got a lot going on in here. George, don't talk bad about my volunteer family today. Terry's talking about the goofy celebration from the playoffs. Terry, what's up? Good morning. Brian's with us. Ed, Red Light 34. Victor, good morning. David is with us. Red Light 34. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Paige and Deanie Bean. What's up, Andrew and Dean? I think Dean's probably with you. What's up? John has a Mac. I know. I'm not Team Mac. I'm sorry. I am not Team Mac. Not gonna do it. I'm sticking to my PC because I'm stubborn like that. I also said the same thing about Android. I was Team Android. When I went back to school, when I went back to college at age 29. So this would have been like 2010, 2011. One of my classes, the professor took a poll, who has an iPhone? And like everybody in class, there are, say, 40 students in the classroom. 38 students raised their hands. 38 had an iPhone. 2, and I was one of the 2 with an Android. This was in like 2010 or 2011. I went Team iPhone. I think when I moved to Wisconsin, I I moved to Team iPhone. And the reason, this is the silliest of reasons. Actually, not. If you're watching the show, it's not silly at all. The main reason I went to iPhone was because of the Rookies app. The Rookies app, you can create your own custom baseball cards on a phone app, and it's not available for Android. It's coming soon. Well, it's been coming soon for 10 years now, and it's still not on the Android. So that's why I went to Team iPhone. But I'm sticking to my guns. PC, not going to the Apple. So we've got Victor, the rookie card specialist. What is happening? Good morning. Mark Hoyle, good morning. Cooter's with us. Good morning. Do you have a light bulb out, or are you creating a mood? I think probably what's going on there, I might have moved a box up on top of this shelf. By the way, there's 2 archives boxes. I'm saving those for the Couch People Christmas party. I went for a retail run yesterday. The cleaners were here, so it's like, get out of the house. What do I do? Get out of the house, go to Walmart, buy some baseball cards. So they still had somebody, and I had mentioned this. I did a live break yesterday afternoon. I did two blasters, and then I ripped a third one off camera later. Nothing super big. Did pull an auto though on the live rip, so you can check that out in my YouTube channel. They also had a couple blasters of Topps Update. I bought those. I was surprised all of the archives. Somebody took a picture on Saturday, put it in a Facebook group. They're like, hey, somebody in this group was looking for archives. The Walmart on the east side has them. And there were like 10 or 12 in the photo, and there were 10 or 12 when I got there Monday afternoon, 2 days later. So I picked up 5 of them, left some for the kids. So I'll save 2 for the Couch People Christmas party, which is going to be Saturday, December 10th, right here on YouTube. StreamYard will be open, so you can come on as you wish. If you just want to come pop on for a few minutes and say hi, you can do that. If you want to pop on for a few hours and just rip and chat, you can do that too. All are welcome, because it's the Couch People Christmas party, Saturday, December 10th, here on YouTube. We'll go from about 4 p.m. to maybe 10 p.m. Central, and it will be live on YouTube as well. So that's going to be fun. And I have built up a ton of unopened wax. I'm probably going to uncover like, oh yeah, I forgot I had these boxes. Let's see. Ken, what's up? Grumpy. Yeah, my computer makes me grumpy, man. It's annoying the piss out of me. Andrew says, didn't Twitter just fire all their humans? I think so, but my issues with the Twitter login have been going on for a couple weeks now. It predates all of the Twitter nonsense that's been happening here lately. Matt Weidman, what's happening? Good morning to you. John says Mac users live longer, happier lives. Probably. It's probably my computer problems are probably the main reason for my blood pressure medication. Christian, good morning to you. Christian, dropping a bomb here. Christian, I work in IT, and PC is the way to go. Boom. Dropping the microphone on that one. Red Light 34 says Mac sucks. All right, we've got Team PC in the house. Card Hobbyist loves PC and has an iPhone. Yes, I am Team iPhone, but I am Team PC. Let's see. John says overusing emoji sucks. Where are we at? Max says people still buy Androids. I think it's a thing. Red Light, he's Android. John nailed it. The baseball card app, Rookies app. Max says, and the only reason people should have a PC is because certain programs are lazy and still haven't adapted to Mac. John says light bulb is out, but it's under all that hair gel. Hey, that's true. And you know what? They didn't cut it. I'd rather them cut it. Actually, I don't really care anymore. I don't have to go to the office. I can just wear a hat. If I don't like my haircut, I can just wear a hat. But they didn't cut it short enough. But I'd prefer them not cut it short enough than cut it too short and then I have to wear a hat. And then if we go out to dinner and I have to, it's like, oh, I look like a little kid with a buzz cut. So hence the hair gel. Brian says, I have PC, iPad, iPhone. George says, argument over phones and computers is like arguing over slabs versus raw of no relevance to me. Andrew says, Bo got another box for the Christmas party. Roll 1993 Donruss Studio. Baseball, 36 packs. Nice. So Andrew's going to be ripping some studio. At first, when I started reading that sentence, I thought you were talking that Bo got another box. It's like, I got another 2 boxes of archives. Wait, you got another box for the Christmas party. Card Hobbyist says, I can easily swap parts in my desktop PC. I'd be lost trying to work on Mac hardware. I'd be lost on all of the above. The extent of my knowledge for troubleshooting is Control-Alt-Delete. Is it plugged in? Oh crap, call my friend that knows how to work on computers. Victor says, my life has significantly improved since I gave up on PC and joined Team Mac 20 years ago. I was tired of getting beat up by the blue screen of death. If you remember that, I remember the blue screen of death. We don't have, maybe did computers just evolve to where they don't suck as bad anymore? We don't get the blue screen of death, although it does take me 15 minutes to fire it up. But I think I don't know what's up with this computer, but it's super slow, and I think it's got a decent process. Like my upstairs, I don't know if this makes any sense. I don't know like the RAM on these machines, but this is an Intel Core i5, which I know is kind of old. But my upstairs is an i3. And they're both slow. But the upstairs one seems to be faster than this one. And the upstairs computer is like, well, shoot, I was using that computer when I was working college basketball 10 years ago. I think I bought it 10 years ago. This one's only a couple years old. So I know age doesn't really affect processing speed and all that. But anyway, college basketball, by the way, tipped off again. I was caught by surprise that basketball season snuck up on us, which usually I'm like counting the days. But the NBA snuck on me, which I don't watch the NBA, so that wasn't a surprise. But college basketball, that's my jam. That's my jam. So I watched a doubleheader last night, Big Ten Network. I watched Victor's Michigan Wolverines, brought back some memories. So I was actually texting my good friend of mine, Kyle, who was my he was the SID when I worked in college athletics. He was the SID. I ran the radio network. We traveled together on basketball trips, and it was 11 years ago. I couldn't believe this because I was watching Michigan. They're playing at Chrysler Arena, and it's like this was one of the highlights to my broadcasting career, broadcasting a Michigan Wolverines game in Chrysler Arena. Trey Burke was on that Wolverines team. Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Sr. was sitting like right behind me. Our booth we weren't on the floor at Chrysler. We were like kind of up in the visiting radio booth. And Tim Hardaway Sr. sitting right behind me, like walked past me like 10 times. I've shared this story many times, but one of the highlights, I'm like, I can't believe it's been 11 years. So I got nostalgic. I dug in. I still have a tub of all my college basketball notes and stuff, and still have my scorebook from that game. So I texted my buddy Kyle, and I'm like, dude, can you believe it's been 11 years since we traveled to Michigan? And I still remember like a lot of that trip. We didn't stay in Ann Arbor. We stayed in Ypsilanti, near Eastern Michigan University, and then drove over to Ann Arbor. But it's so like I can remember, and we almost beat Michigan. We only lost by 4. It's one of those games where they pay us $100,000 to come lose, and so they get a little practice game time practice in. but I can remember like we almost win. 59-55 was the final score. I remember being on the bus and like being on Facebook, and everybody's like, "Oh, the Leathernecks," and all that. So, and then following that, in another tie-in to my college basketball career, Wisconsin played South Dakota. South Dakota's in the Summit League, which is in the same conference that Western Illinois, where I worked, is also in. In Wisconsin, another highlight was Western Illinois, and they made a blurb. They didn't mention Western Illinois on the broadcast, but they said Wisconsin is 23-1 in home openers at the Kohl Center. That one loss, I was there broadcasting. The Western Illinois Leathernecks beat Wisconsin on their own floor, the only home opening loss at the Kohl Center for the Badgers, and it was my Leathernecks that did so. So brought back some fun memories. Tonight's schedule, college basketball sucks. I think Purdue's in action against a cupcake, but I'll probably, if it's on Big Ten Network, I'll probably have it on in the background. Fall Creek Collectibles, what's happening? Ken says Instagram is better than Twitter. I'm just I'm actually surprised that Ken says that, because from what I see on Instagram, it's everything that Ken despises. That's what I see on Instagram. Maybe I'm not following the right people. I don't really know how to work Instagram. I can post things, and that's about it. But I'm really surprised that Ken prefers Instagram over Twitter, because Instagram is just a bunch of hey, look at me, and look at all this shiny, flashy, flippy stuff. That's my take. Max says IT is worse than HR. Oh man, that's a toss up. That's a toss up. Let's see. John says if all used Max, then Christian wouldn't have a job. Victor says thanks for reminding me that I forgot to take my blood pressure medicine. There you go. Red Light 34. I have a PC in almost every room of the house. Let's see. We got a comment from Ed. What's Ed say? I skipped too far ahead. Oh, there he is. I'm Mac all the way from watch through iMac and everything in between. No other way. John says Ed is the smartest guy here. Listen to him. Cooter says Macs are great for consuming content and gaming in a basement. PC are best for conducting business by the people who own the basement. Oh, I love it. Card Hobbyist says hit those thumbs up for hair gel and nerd computer talk. Thank you. Max says, Cooter, I own over 30 basements and I own a Mac. Next. John says, how many times have you spilled coffee on your computer? You know what? Surprisingly, I haven't. I've got a lot of coffee ring stains on this. This is one of those, you can't see it, but the table that the computer and the camera and the microphone and the coffee, it's on one of those Costco white plastic tables. And it's just like coffee rings everywhere. Every once in a while, if I go to like a Cubs game, or if I'm out of town, sometimes my wife gets in her cleaning modes, and she will like wipe down the coffee rings and take my trash out. Because usually what happens is she'll walk down and she'll like just glance over into my office and just be like, oh my God, I have to clean. So, hey, works for me. George says, I don't have all of the computer problems. It seems everyone else does. Guess I don't watch enough porn. Uh-oh, the sex bots are coming. Terry says, if you have an SSD for the operating system, the computer will boot much faster. Can I just buy a computer that comes with it? I don't know what any of that means. But ideally, I just go and buy a computer that has everything. They call this an all-in-one. I know, because I've been looking. I've been shopping. I want a computer that I don't have to build. I don't have to piece out. I don't have to go buy an SSD on its own. I don't want to put things together. I just want to buy a computer in a box that runs efficiently. It doesn't have to be the fastest computer in the world. I'm not gaming. I just want to I want it to boot fast. Like I want it to start up fast. I want web pages to load. I've got my handy dandy Wi-Fi thing in here now, so my internet should be better. I want all that to come in a box. And then poof, I'm done. And maybe in 5 years I have to buy another one. Is that an option? Nothing's easy in life. Nothing's that easy. Matt says, do you scan on the computer downstairs? I do not. The one that's slow, I do not. It's the upstairs computer, which is slow as well, but it's not this one down here. Also, you probably have too many programs starting up at once. When you start the computer, you can change those settings. I think I took care of all that. I'll go back and check, but I went and I that's one thing that I did look at. Because like something was like Spotify was like, I listen to Spotify like once a month. I don't need it starting up every time my computer boots up. John says new era at Villanova. I know, it's so weird. And Duke, it's so weird with Jay Wright and Coach K not on the sideline. So weird. Red Light 34 says Colts fire head coach, about damn time. Frank Reich got the boot. Brian says I might need to be defragged. I have mine sent to auto once a week. Is that still? I was actually wondering about this. Who are my IT people? I remember defragging computers. I don't think, is that a thing anymore? Like, I don't think that's an option. I don't think I can go like, oh, my computer needs defragged. But I remember having to defrag the computer and like all the like, ooh, everything's coming together, color-coded little blocks. It was like Tetris. Fun stuff. John says, no $25 per diem busting beers in Ypsilanti. 25. Hey, I didn't work in the Big Ten. I was only getting like $10 for per diem. It bought me one beer at the hotel bar. Or two if I got a Coors Light or a Bud Light. But if I wanted the fancy craft stuff, I was spending all my per diem on one beer. Christian says, did you ever travel to Oakland University? By golly, I did. So, Christian, I have a good story about Oakland. So Oakland was in our conference. So I made a few trips to Rochester Hills. And we usually stayed like not too far from the Palace, because my first year there, it's like, oh, the Palace of Auburn Hills is just down the street. So I would always walk, like, and we always stayed like the hotels on our road trips. We stayed like in Nowhereville. So it was like I was walking through like retail parking lots, but we did stay near the Palace, the Hilton out there. So I walked around the Palace of Auburn Hills and saw that. The night we traveled in, because I think we came in from Fort Wayne, the Bulls were in town against the Pistons, but we didn't get in. So we were only staying like a couple blocks away from the Palace. So me and I think my buddy Kyle, who I was traveling with, we had planned on going to the Bulls Pistons game if we got there on time, but we didn't get there quick enough. I don't think we pulled in until, because I think we practiced in Fort Wayne and then drove into Detroit. So we didn't get in there until that night, and it was, I think by the time we got to the hotel, it was like halftime or the second quarter. It's like, man, by the time we even get there, it's going to be the fourth quarter. So we didn't know if it was safe to walk in that area. So we did not. But I have a funny story about Greg Campy, who's a legend. Greg Campy is the man. He's awesome. So Greg Campy is the head coach. He's been the head coach at Oakland University since, I think, literally since the Reagan administration. And so I think I've shared this story before, but I always do pregame interviews with the coaches, like before the game, like an hour before the game. We get there, it's like SID takes me to the coach's office or wherever. And by the way, that's one thing that I loved about John Beeline. He didn't like some coaches big time. Archie Miller big timed me when he was at Dayton and had an assistant coach do the pregame interview. John Beeline, head coach at Michigan, talked to the lowly Western Illinois visiting radio team. So John Beeline, thumbs up. Archie Miller, thumbs down, you big timer. Greg Campy, awesome guy. So Greg Campy, SID takes me up to coach's office and knocks on the door. Greg opens up the door and nothing but a wife beater top and boxer shorts. It's like he's like, I'm just changing. Can you give me a couple minutes? Like, okay. So Greg Campy, awesome dude. Always enjoyed visiting with him and in the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. And then I think they left. They're in the Horizon now, and I think they left. Might have been my final year working there. Might have been my last season with the team. I can't remember, but yeah, they're in different conference now. But yes, made a few trips over to Oakland. John says, is the Kohl Center the old Bradley Center? No. So the Kohl Center is in Madison. The Kohl Center is where Wisconsin basketball plays in Madison. Bradley Center's in Milwaukee. Let's see. John says, I've been to Meadowbrook in Oakland, Michigan. Let's see. Ken says, I follow collectors on IG. They show cards. I don't have to see their political or sports takes. That's a plus. That is a plus. I'm on Twitter less and less by the week. Christian says, wow, shots fired on the IT job. John says, need to get Bo some coasters for Christmas. I have coasters. By the way, I have coasters. In fact, I did have some like on the shelf over there. I had Cubs coasters that were like homemade Cubs coaster, like ceramic or whatever that I found at Goodwill for like $2. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these? Because I have a set of coasters out in my rec room, and I'm like, I'm not going to use these. So they're probably in a box in the unfinished area. That's a good idea. I should probably bring out a coaster. Joe says, get one with a SSD and lots of RAM. Okay. I'm going to write that down, because what I do is people like tell me these things and I'm like, oh, I'll remember that. And then I don't remember that. So, by the way, we are going to talk Hall of Fame. Contemporary era ballot was released yesterday. So where's the computer tips? So what'd you say? SSD and lots of RAM. Oh, yes, I do have RAM. I have somebody suggested 16 GB. Is that gigabyte? I'm assuming that's gigabyte. And they said at least an i5 processor. And that's what I have. I have an i5. 16 gigabyte RAM, SSD, lots of RAM. Thank you. John says, LOL. It does come in a box. It's a white box with an apple on the side of it. By the way, no political ads this morning when tuning in. Hey, that's good. Today's election day. Thank flipping God. We just have to put up with a few more hours of election commercials. And then we just have to prepare for the end, because the world is coming to an end based on whichever politician is elected today. So we get to look forward to that. Joe says, I'll trade you computer buying advice for 1,000 Cubs cards. Terry says, newer versions of Windows defrag in the background automatically. Aha. Christian says, Greg Campy is the king of lower Division 1. He is. Campy's the man. JG says, loved when Oakland took down Sparty a few years back. Heck yeah. I always root for Summit League teams and former Summit League teams that have moved on. Brian says, by the way, because we have the same trash and recycle day, tomorrow is that day for both. Yes, tomorrow's trash day for me. Trash day only. So thank you. So tonight I will have to take my trash out. Rich says 10 likes and 36 watching. Not a terrible percent. We can do better. Thank you, Rich. We're up to 11. Thank you, Rich. He adds, and getting ready to start my day, have to clean out what is now my old car after I got involved in an unplanned business meeting between a pickup truck and a lawnmower truck. That sucks. That is no good. And the odds are the car is totaled. Not good. Well, maybe that is good. Sometimes you do want your car totaled. Ed says, we have Archie here at URI. Karma got him. It did. Big time in Archie Miller. John says coasters are like IT. If you just do what you're supposed to, you don't need them. Wipe the bottom of your cup. Terry says, I have a long list of political terms filtered out on Twitter, so I don't see those posts. I need to utilize that function more often. Card Hobbyist says, RAM is the bottleneck if you got a lot of stuff running at once. Aha. I don't think I have a lot of, but I may. It's probably stuff that like I either click and I'm not supposed to, or I don't click and I am supposed to. So that could be. I should probably just do a little due diligence and look into that more. Andrew says the world is already at end. It depends who you talk to. I know, because for 30 seconds, the world is going to end if a Democrat gets elected, and then the next 30 seconds, the world is going to end if a Republican gets elected. Card Hobbyist says someone has said the world was ending since the day humans learned to communicate. Absolutely. Brian says, Terry, I'm still running Windows 8. I don't even know what I'm running. 10 maybe. I don't know. So let's talk Hall of Fame. So the contemporary era ballot was released yesterday. And so what is the contemporary era ballot? They switched up the era committees. So this year is the contemporary era. So it's players that we grew up with, basically. So I just have ESPN pulled up so I don't sound stupid trying to remember all of this stuff. So the contemporary era is made up of a committee of 16 voters. They consist of Hall of Fame players, baseball executive, and veteran sports writers, the same a-holes that kept some of these guys out of the Hall of Fame. So we've got to deal with these guys again. They vote on December 4th during the winter meetings. So we'll find out. Next month who gets in. So they've dropped the committees. There used to be 10. Now there's only 8 players on this ballot. So this is the contemporary era ballot. There's other eras coming up. So the Veterans Committee cycle next year will be where's it at? Next year's election will feature contemporary era managers, executives, and umpires. So that's the contemporary era, which I believe is 1980 to present-ish, within the last 5 years or last 10 years or whatever. 80s and 90s. So that's contemporary era managers, executives, and umpires next year. And then the following year will be so that's 2023. Next year's election. ESPN's got this out. The revamped Veterans Committee election cycle means the next vote for contemporary era ballot will come in 2025. Next year's election will feature contemporary era managers, executives, umpires, and the classic era will be voted on in December 2024. Okay. So the contemporary era ballot released yesterday, 8 players. So there's 5 players on here that I expected. 5 of the 8 I expected to be on this ballot. 2 I was shocked. And 1 I was a little surprised. So let's start with the 5. These are kind of no-brainers in my opinion. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, who were just on the writers' ballot for the last 10 years. Fred McGriff, and Dale Murphy. Those are the 5 that I'm like, okay, yes, solid picks. And I think all 5 of those guys are Hall of Famers. I think Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, Fred McGriff, and Dale Murphy should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, if I had to take one of those, say, okay, you can keep 4, but you have to leave 1 off. I think the first I would leave off would be Fred McGriff, followed by Dale Murphy. I think Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, no doubt about it, Hall of Famers. If I had to rank them, if I had to rank those 5 in order of my opinion of, yes, Hall of Fame, Barry Bonds, number 1, no doubt about it. arguably the greatest baseball player to ever live, ever. Barry Bonds, number 1. Number 2, Roger Clemens. Number 3, Curt Schilling. And you could probably talk me out of that ranking of Curt Schilling. Bonds, Clemens, 1 and 2, no doubt. You're not going to talk me out of that one. Curt Schilling, I'll say number 3, but that's debatable. Number 4, Dale Murphy. And number 5, Fred McGriff. So you could probably talk me into saying Curt Schilling 5 on that list. But Bonds, Clemens, 1 and 2, no doubt. No doubters. So those are the 5 that I thought, okay, these guys are on the ballot for sure. There were 2 that absolutely shocked me that they're on this ballot. One is a guy that I just talked about a few days ago on this show. Like, yeah, Rafael Palmeiro has a Hall of Fame career. Rafael Palmeiro's on this ballot. I did not think, if you would have told me Rafael Palmeiro is going to be on the contemporary era ballot and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa don't make that ballot, I'd be like, you're crazy. Rafael Palmeiro made the ballot. He's on the contemporary era ballot, along with, who was the other shocker here? Albert Bell. Albert Bell. I've got a stack. I don't think I can make it over there. I've got too many boxes piled up. I've got a roadblock set up. I wonder if I can access. Oh. Whew. And I did that without knocking anything over. These are all Albert Bell rookie cards, 1990 tops. Albert Bell, Joey Bell, boom. So I'll get those out, get those listed on eBay since he's going to be in the news for the next month. Albert Bell, I was shocked that he made the contemporary era ballot. So that's 7. The 8th was a little surprise to me. I'm not shocked, but I am surprised. Don Mattingly. And Don Mattingly's a guy. Here's a guy. Who says that? Chris Collinsworth? Now here's a guy. Don Mattingly, in 1989, when I'm like first starting to get into baseball, in 1989, I would have told you Don Mattingly is a no doubt about it, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. And he didn't even I don't even think he got close to election, did he? But he was an MVP in 1985. He was runner-up to the MVP in 86. He finished 7th in MVP voting in 87. So he had a great run. He was 5th in MVP voting in 84. So his 84 through 89, I mean, he was MVP talent, but then he just kind of fell off. And I think he dealt with some injuries. He won how many Gold Gloves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He won 6 Gold Gloves. The thing that hurts though is he had a fairly short, like he didn't have the 20-year career that gets some of these guys in, Harold Baines. So he had kind of a short career, 14 seasons. But one of those seasons was his rookie year in 82, where he only played 7 games. He only played 91 games in 83. He only played 97 games in 94, and he was done in 95. And you know, he still hit 280. I mean, his career batting average, 307. He led the league in batting in 84 at 343. Wasn't a power hitter, only 222 home runs. Did lead the league in RBI with 145 in 1985. Finished with 1,099 RBI. He did hit 442 doubles, which he led the league in doubles in 84, 85, and 86. Led the league in hits in 84 and 86. Led the league in plate appearances in 86. So he had a nice run, but it was kind of confined to a short, you know, really you look at it, 84 to 89 was his greatness period. And then he had from 1990 until the end of his career, he was good, but he wasn't great. So his greatness only lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 seasons. So unfortunately, I don't think Don Mattingly gets in. I just don't think he had the longevity to be Hall of Fame. Now, Who would I put? I would put in most of these guys. I would put in Bonds. I would put in Clemens. I would put in Schilling. I would put in McGriff. I would put in Murphy. And I would probably put in Palmeiro. I would put in 6 of the 8. I probably would not vote for Albert Bell, and I would not put in Don Mattingly. I just said, so let's look at Albert Bell. Actually, before we go, let's stick to Mattingly for a second because I like looking at Jaws and I like doing the comps, the player comps. So with Mattingly, similarity scores is pretty weak. So his similarity scores, similar batters to Don Mattingly, Cecil Cooper, Wally Joyner, Hal McRae, Kirby Puckett, Will Clark, Adrian Gonzalez, Maglio Ordonez, Jeff Conine, Tony Oliva, and Freddie Freeman. So a lot of really good players. I don't see any really great players on there. Kirby Puckett, he was really good. I don't know if I would consider Kirby Puckett great. Will Clark, really good. Freddie Freeman, really good. Still playing. So those are his similarity scores. Where's the Jaws? So in Jaws, in first base rankings, we looked at this for the Rafael Palmeiro test, which Raffy ranks far ahead of Don Mattingly. Mattingly's all the way down at 39th on this list. So he is the 5 players ahead of him in the Jaws for first baseman are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Freddie Freeman, Orlando Cepeda, Dolph Camilli, Frank Chance, and Carlos Delgado. Those 5 rank ahead of Don Mattingly. The 5 below him are Adrian Gonzalez, Gil Hodges, Ed Konechi, Jack Fournier, and Mark Grace. Some other players, non-Hall of Fame players that rank ahead of him on the Jaws list for first baseman: Norm Cash, Fred McGriff is 32nd on this list, Mark Teixeira, Jason Giambi and Will Clark, John Olerud. Wow, 24th for John Olerud. That's a surprise. Todd Helton, who I think eventually gets in on the writer's ballot. So that's first baseman ranking for first baseman Jaws through Baseball Reference. Let's go to the chat before we take a look at Albert Bell's resume. We've got a lot of chat. I love Hall of Fame talk. Let's see. So the AC guy, what's happening? Don't you mean players we were disappointed by? John says baseball Hall of Fame election is the most confusing thing and keeps getting worse. Paige and Deanie Bean had a video with Mr. Fisherbike. Ed says sports writers do not belong in these committees. I agree 100%. Sports writers have their own ballot. They shouldn't be on these era committees. I agree 100%. Ken says every one of these guys was more impactful than Harold Baines. Let them all in. I would agree with that. John says hot dog, beer, and program vendors in 2025. AC guy says sucks Mattingly has to be on the list with those guys. Andrew says they should just let everyone into the Hall of Fame and stop arguing about it. There are probably players in the Hall of Fame with meh stats. There absolutely are. Rich Klein says we had a guy at the old ballpark here in Arlington who had his own cards made. Rich is going to start his day. Thank you for jumping on, Rich. John says I rank Schilling behind Mario Mendoza. Max says that order is correct, but Murphy and Crime Dog belong in the Hall of Very Good. And I won't disagree with that. They're like the line. And there's got to be a line. And here's the thing. There's got to be a line. And what happens is when we start saying it's kind of, we get, what's the term? Like we get sentimental, nostalgic. And it's like, and that line keeps moving. And then and then somebody sneaks in like Harold Baines. And it's like, well, if Harold Baines gets in, all of these 8, if Harold Baines is in, all these 8 players are, Hall of Fame worthy. And all of a sudden that line just keeps moving back and back. And it's like, well, if Gil Hodges is in, because for so long, Dick Allen and Gil Hodges were that line. Are they very good or are they Hall of Fame? And then they get in, so that line keeps moving. And it's like Fred McGriff, Dale Murphy, very good. Are they Hall of Fame worthy? So, Max, I will agree. I think that's accurate, where I think that's kind of the line. And unfortunately, there's got to be some of these guys that are on that line. And I think we need to stop moving that line, because then all of a sudden it's no longer the Hall of Fame. It is the Hall of Very Good and the Hall of Fame. And it's all this just gigantic, kind of what Andrew said. Everybody's in, because we keep moving that line. Well, if this guy's in, this guy should be in. If this guy's in, this guy should be in. So it's like a domino effect, and we just keep pulling. Okay, come on. You're next. You're next. It's like the guy at the nightclub. Yep, you're in. You're in. You're in. Let's see. Cooters with John on the shilling. Max says there's only one reason why Schill is not in the Hall of Fame, and we know why. Absolutely, I would agree with that. John says Kurt Flood and Dave Parker belong before these guys, not better than them, just have had to wait too long. I'd have to look through. So I think Kurt Flood should be in, not as a player, but as a friend of baseball or whatever that wing is, for a contributor to baseball. Kurt Flood should be in the Hall of Fame as a contributor. And that's where I think with Ron Santo, I think Ron Santo should have been in the Hall of Fame as a contributor for what he did in his long career as a player, and after his playing career with what he did as an ambassador to the game of baseball, especially the Chicago Cubs, but not in as a player. And I agree with that with Kurt Flood. Dave, I haven't really looked at Dave Parker's numbers to really form an opinion that I would speak about. Ken says, I'm happy Albert Bell is at least being acknowledged. John says, although what Flood did was way more important than anything the others did. Johnny Boy Cards, Donnie Baseball, the back injury killed his career. Absolutely. Andrew says, let's get a wiki read today. I can sense it. John says, if Don Mattingly hadn't played in New York, he'd beat Wally Joyner. That's a great point. If Mattingly was not a Yankee, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I agree. No one is campaigning for Wally Joyner. We just looked up first base Jaws, Wally Joyner. Where was he at? Was he on that list? Wait, what position did Wally Joyner play? Oh, he was first base. He's way down. He's at 69. Nice. Wally Joyner's way down on that list on the Jaws rankings. Let's see. Ken says, yeah, Flood is a big part of the reason it's now $1,000 for a family to go to a game. That's not incorrect. That's not incorrect. Jordan Brown, what's up? I'm with Max. Crime Dog, very good Hall of Fame. Let's see. Mark says Parker and Dick Allen before Sosa and McGuire, Murphy or McGriff. Now, I would definitely disagree with that. Sosa and McGuire should be in, and I think their careers are better than the other four named. Andrew says there should be a fan favorite wing in the Hall of Fame. Let the masses vote and have a different ceremony. Robert Lanham. Yes, Oliva is in. Let's see. Where are we at? Mattingly won 9 Gold Gloves, including 91 and 94. Max says Bo's Hall of Fame. Oprah, everyone gets a vote. Let's see. Jordan and Paige and Deanie Bean. Oliva is Hall of Fame. Yes, Oliva is in. Cooper not. Let's see. Iced Full Moon. What's up? Welcome to the chat. You're on here far too much. You can't possibly have a real life to care about, or your real life doesn't care about you. Either way, it's weird. Well, thank you for that comment. Hit the like on your way out. Veda Pinson. Pete Rose should get in before all of those guys. The card hobbyist says true Colin. Ken says there was a line and Baines lowered it. Agree with that. Christian says, where's Lou Whitaker? Yeah, actually, I am surprised that Lou Whitaker did not make this contemporary era list. I would agree with that. Let's see. Andrew says, serious, why are the WWE writers continuing this title hold by Roman Reigns? Maybe we should put all the fringe guys in the Hall of Fame contribution. Well, Iced Full Moon wouldn't know that if he wasn't equally here. So we wanted to look at so we were Don Mattingly, Albert Bell. We wanted to look at Albert Bell. And Albert Bell had a short career. Okay, Albert Bell's not in because he had too short of a. He only played 12 years in really only 10 full seasons. Bell's career was far too short, I think, to garner Hall of Fame election. Put him in the Hall of Very Good. I'll make Max happy. Hall of Very Good for Albert Bell. He only played 10 full seasons. Let's see. He had very similar to Don Mattingly, a shorter career, even shorter than Mattingly, and he had a great run. He was great. Albert Bell was great for 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. So if he could have been great for 10 seasons or 12 seasons, then he's in. But he was only great from 93 to 96. Let's see. He finished second in MVP voting in 95, third in 94 and 96. But yeah, he hit 381 home runs, 1,239 RBI, career batting average of 295. It's just, yeah, he doesn't pass the eye test. He doesn't pass, what is the eye test or the sniff test? Albert Bell, no. He's the first man out on this list. On this list of 8, he ranks last for me, my opinion. Let's look at his Jaws. So he's in the left field rankings for Jaws. By the way, the Jaws leader for left fielders is Barry Bonds, followed by Ted Williams, Ricky Henderson, and Carl Yastrzemski. Bell is all the way down the list at, well, now I got to search for it because I lost it. 41st. So this is where Albert Bell on the Jaws rankings, which if you're not familiar, Jaws is from Jay Jaffe, where he outlines who should and should not be in the Hall of Fame based on his metrics. The Jaws WAR score system was developed by sabermetrician Jay Jaffe as a means to measure a player's Hall of Fame worthiness. A player's Jaws is their career WAR averaged with their 7-year peak WAR. Note that only batting or pitching WAR are used in determining the averages at a given position. The current Hall of Famers are then grouped by position, and a position average Jaws is computed. So Bell is all the way down at 41. So here are some players that rank ahead of Albert Bell in the Jaws rankings. Brett Gardner, Matt Holliday, Kenny Williams, Brian Downing, George Foster, Luis Gonzalez, Ryan Braun, Jose Cruz Sr., Bob Johnson. Yes, Bob Johnson actually ranks 19th on this is an old Bob. I was thinking like 1970s Bob Johnson. No, this is 1930s and 40s Bob Johnson. Philadelphia Athletics Bob Johnson. So Albert Bell way down on that list. So I'm putting in, if I had a vote on the contemporary era ballot, I'm putting in Bonds, I'm putting in Clemens, I'm putting in Schilling, I'm putting in Murphy and McGriff. Are they Hall of Very Good? And here I am. I'm going against my own stop moving the line. Maybe I'll talk myself out of it. But right now, I'm putting McGriff and Murphy in. But I might be able to talk myself out of that because I am. I think we should stop moving that line of very good getting into the Hall of Fame. And I'm putting Palmeiro in. But I'm keeping out Bell and Mattingly. And you could make an argument that I'm going to keep out Murphy and the other guy, McGriff. Let's see. Where are we at in the chat? Let's see. Jordan says maybe we should put all the fringe guys in the Hall of Fame contribution. Let's see. Go watch Parker's throw in the 79 All-Star game, and that will show you what you need to know. The numbers don't capture everything. Ken says Bell did more in 10 seasons than Baines in 25. The voters love longevity. Max says if he would be Trout caliber for those years he is in, like Trout, if he were to retire today, unfortunately, 2 to 3 All-Star seasons doesn't get you far in my book. Parker is comparable to Murphy numbers-wise, in my opinion. Well, since we're here and I don't have a life, iced full moon, we're going to look up Dave Parker's numbers. So Dave Parker, career WAR 40.1, 339 home runs, career batting average 290. He had the longevity, 19 years. He was an MVP in 78. Some silver sluggers, couple gold gloves. So he's got a good resume. Let's take a look at the nerd stats. Where are we at? So similar batting scores, and this is where it's like, ooh, well, there's some decent. There's some. Hey, Harold Baines is one of his similar scores. Luis Gonzalez, Torrey Hunter, Tony Perez, Billy Williams, Garrett Anderson, Harold Baines, Andre Dawson, Al Oliver, Chili Davis, and Rusty Staub are the 10 similar batters to Dave Parker on the Baseball Reference similarity scores. So let's go to Jaws and see where he's at. He's pretty low on the Jaws ranking, 41st for right fielders. By the way, right fielder number 1 is Babe Ruth, followed by Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, Mel Ott, and Frank Robinson. Clemente 6. So 41st on this list is our man Dave Parker. Some of the guys that rank above him, in fact, he's got a pretty impressive list of 5 right above him. Sam Thompson and King Kelly are right above him, both in the Hall of Fame. Bryce Harper will be in the Hall of Fame. Rusty Staub and Giancarlo Stanton, which Stanton is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. 5 below Dave Parker, Darryl Strawberry, J.D. Drew, Dixie Walker, and Felipe Alou. Some non-Hall of Famers that rank above Dave Parker in Jaws, like we mentioned, Rusty Staub, Rocky Colavito, Jack Clark, Brian Giles, Bobby Bonds, Gary Sheffield, which you could make an argument for Chef, Bobby Abreu, Sammy, my man Sammy Sosa. Reggie Smith ranks 18th on this list. Dwight Evans ranks 16th on this list. In fact, let's see. Evans is the highest ranked non-Hall of Famer, non-active player among Jaws leaders for right field. Let's go back into the chat. Mark says Indian Bob Johnson, borderline Hall of Famer. Let's see. Cooter says, I put Bell with my guy Will Clark. Neither had Hall of Fame numbers, but had some really good seasons. Agree. Like Will Clark, in 1989, I thought Will Clark was a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. But, you have to have that long career. And shit, by 89, he was only had, 3 years under his belt? 4 years? Andrew says, you have an agenda, Bo. You have cards to sell, so more Hall of Famers, the better. Hey, that is a good point. If Albert Bell gets in, I've got 300 rookie cards that I'll probably list today since this ballot came out. Let's see. Where are we at? Skip too far ahead. Iced Full Moon says, I'm a female, not a he, and this is my second time here. I subscribe, so I notice he's always on here. I watch 100 other channels. Of course, I'm on here. Well, thank you for watching. Cooter says, Williams and DiMaggio said he should be in the Hall, so Jaws doesn't matter. Stacks and Peck says, why do you care how much he is on here? That's a good question. Let's see. Max says, Chef should be in, hit 500. Yeah, Sheffield had a good career. Gary Sheffield. He had a long career. He played, Sheffield played longer than I thought. 22 seasons for Gary Sheffield. I think the only reason Gary Sheffield's not in is because he played in the steroid era. He had a 60.5 WAR, 509 home runs, career batting average 292, 1,676 RBI, 253 stolen bases. Sheffield had a Hall of Fame career. Let's see. Iced Full Moon says she is the most interesting person here. You were all bored and boring before I came. Max says, I just think 500 is an auto in. I agree. And I think in those numbers are gonna move as well because of times change. I don't think there's going to be many 500 career home run hitters in the future. And same with pitching numbers. So that's my thoughts, boring or not, on the Hall of Fame. And the contemporary era ballot voting is during the winter meeting. So next month, I think December 4th is when they put on a vote. They vote, 16-member panel will vote And it's the 8 Albert Bell, Palmero, Mattingly, Murphy, McGriff, Schilling, Clemens, Bonds. So it'll be interesting. How does this committee favor or not favor Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, which are kind of all pooled together? So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes down to vote in the contemporary era ballot. And I don't think the writer's ballot comes out, I think, the end of this month. It usually comes out around Thanksgiving. I don't think anybody gets in on the writer's ballot. I think Scott Rowland is going to be closest, but I don't think he gets in. I think Scott Rowland eventually gets in, but it's not going to be this year. Todd Helton, I think, is another guy that eventually gets in, but not this year. And the only, like, the biggest name for on the writer's ballot that's entering the ballot for the first time, I think, is Carlos Beltran. And he's not going to get in. So I don't think anybody gets in on the writer's ballot this round. But I do think at least a couple guys. If I were to guess, I think, and it's hard to say who, like, I don't think we know who's on this, like, who are the 16 voters. I don't think that's public. I don't think that's released. Because it all kind of depends on who's voting on who gets in. So I really don't know. Not knowing, like, the voting history of who's on this voting committee, it's a crapshoot. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if any or all, or any, if all or none get voted in, because it kind of all depends on who is actually voting. It does require 75%, just like the Hall of Fame, but obviously a much smaller pool. So there's 16 voters, so they need 12 to get in. 12 votes to get in. So we'll see. And we only have to wait a month, so that's cool. So Max says, man, Roland was on baseball tonight every night. Reminds me of a poor man's Arenado Machado. Dan is with us. What's up? Just wrapping things up. Max says, I miss baseball tonight. So thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. That's all. So have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.